Greetings and welcome to another American Photo Treks post-processing video. And in this video, we're going to do a quick focus stack post-processing demonstration from our American Basin Wildflower adventure that we did last weekend. And boy, did we hit American Basin at absolutely the perfect time. I mean, it seemed like every type of wildflower was just at the very peak of bloom when we hit it. There was good weather for the most part, not much breeze, every once in a while, a little bit of a breeze, but just the kind of conditions you just absolutely want whenever you're going out to shoot wildflowers. It was just a great time, had a great group, really enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it too. During our little class out there, and often during our time taking these pictures, we talked about focus stacking. And we demonstrated how we pick a focus point at different places throughout the depth of the image. And we're doing that hoping to get everything in focus all the way from the wildflowers that are real close to the front of your cameras throughout the midground all the way to the tops of the mountains. It's not an easy thing to do. Some new cameras now have focus stacking built into them. That's a very cool option. And they can focus stack as many as 100 images with the press of one button. That's very cool, which would mean that it would move the focus point to 100 different places throughout the depth of the image. And it won't stack them for you, but it gives you 100 images focus stack, and then you got to go in here and do what I'm demonstrating right now. Now my camera doesn't, it's an A7R3, it doesn't automatically focus stack. So I'm kind of guessing with me how many images it's going to need to get everything in sharp focus. One little trick about focus stacking is that when you download your images, get back to your computer, it's not always easy to tell which images are part of a focus stacking group. So what I do is right before I'm about to focus stack some images, I hold my fingers up in front of the camera and take a picture of my fingers in front of the camera. I'm trying to say here, the next four pictures, four fingers, are going to be part of a focus stack group. So that's what I did right here. So I know when I hold up these fingers that the next four images are going to be part of a focus stack. So let's go ahead and process these and see how they come out. See if I did a good job at focus stacking and creating an image with everything in focus throughout the image. Now, if you never watched one of these videos before, you can follow along with me. And right here, every mouse click or every keyboard click that I make will show up right here so you can follow along with me. All right, so I'm in Adobe Bridge, which is what I use for my library function with my photos. You may use Lightroom library or a different thing, but Lightroom and Bridge are very, very similar, so you should be able to follow along. And first what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the images that I want to focus stack. And I can do that simply by clicking the first image, holding Shift and clicking the last, and they'll all highlight right there. Now what I want to do is I want to load these images as as layers in Photoshop. And because that's how Photoshop is going to stack them. And what I'll do there is I'll go up to Tools, Photoshop, and here's exactly what I want. Load files into Photoshop layers. So I'm going to click that, and we'll start loading them up. And here you can see them loading up as layers right there. Each of the images are being stacked on top of each other. And here, looking at the images, we can zoom in and we can kind of see how one image, is pretty darn sharp throughout. F16 is good, but maybe not quite as sharp as the midground here. And you go back to the mountains, these are just a little bit soft. Go down to the next image. Here the mountains are sharper, but the foreground isn't quite as sharp. Still pretty sharp though. F16 was getting it done. You can see a little bit of movement in the flowers as I go through each one of these, which is kind of worrying me. Like maybe this isn't going to line up well. But I'm going to do something first before I focus stack these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all 4 of my layers by clicking the top one, then the bottom one with shift click. That selects all 4 layers. Then go to Edit, Auto Align Layers, and I'll choose Auto. Now, even if these were taken on a tripod, I'll always go ahead and auto align them anyway, just because, as you can see as I was moving through the frames, when you change the focus point, it slightly changes the distortion of the lens just a little bit. And so this lines it all back up. And if you don't, sometimes I feel like you get a little bit of haloing if you don't do this first. All right, now that we've got them all aligned, I'm going to hit Edit and Auto Blend Layers. You got 2 choices up here. You got Panorama, that's not what we're doing right now, and Stack Images. Stack Images is what we want. And I've clicked both of these, Seamless Tones and Colors, in Content Aware Fill Transparent Areas. And I'm hoping this Content Aware Fill is going to help me in those places where the flowers moved just a little bit. So it's going to, hopefully it'll select that one image where the flowers are in sharp focus, and the one where they moved a little bit, it won't select those, and hopefully it won't get too detailed here and give me things like halos and other problems that are much more difficult to fix. So there we go, I selected OK, and now it's creating my stacked image. Select, deselect, and there is my stamped image, my stacked image. And let's take a look and see how good a job it did. Zoom in here. And we can see these flowers look pretty darn sharp. Moving up through the image, that midground area looks pretty sharp. The rocks and water look sharp. The back there looks pretty darn good. And all the way to the mountaintops. Oop, got a little sensor spot right there. And it looks like it worked. Don't have a lot of ghosting or other problems to deal with, so that's good. And as we look at our layers, you can kind of see what the computer did, the choices that it made. When you're looking at the layers and you see these masks on the layers, you'll see that it's a black and white mask right here. Well, what's happening is they're concealing what's below it and revealing what's below it. So black conceals, white reveals. So in this case, this top image, it was selecting a lot of this area right here. This next image, it was selecting a lot of the midground right here. This third image, so a lot more of the midground, but selecting much more of what was in focus. Finally, this final image, it was selecting the mountaintops, which seems to go pretty smooth, the same as my focus points, which were about here, 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 and here. So it looks like, thanks to very little breeze, very little wind, very little movement, we were able to do this and create a nice sharp picture. I'm just going to flatten this picture, and now you can go into like Camera Raw and start to process it. And you can see here we've got a real pretty image. Clarity brings out a little bit more of that sharpness. Dehaze will bring out a little bit more of that beautiful sky and a couple more sensor spots that I need to fix. Texture, it's looking good. I like it. And all in all, I think we've got a very good start to a real nice image that we can create that really show the beauty of that area we spent all that time in. And what a beautiful area it was, huh? And That looks pretty good to me. Definitely need the, a little tweaking here and there, but that's a darn good image. So I hope this explained focus stacking to you. I hope that makes sense to you. Sometimes when you're new to photography, getting into things like layers in Photoshop and different things can seem pretty intimidating. I hope this helped a little bit, and I hope to see you on another American Photo Treks adventure soon. All right. Bye-bye.